Hello and welcome to Intuitive Clarifications with Natasha. I am here to support you in your life's journey, and I'm going to make a disclosure. Your truth is your truth. I'm just a perspective to help you in your life's walk. So with that, as we're going into life and going forward in our world, oh my gosh, we are in an amazing time to make some big decisions for ourselves. And that's what I kind of want to talk about was is that, we're all in the midst of doing some things that, oh my gosh, and I don't know if you've had some emotions that have been really getting triggered or getting stories or that kind of stuff. So I'm Natasha Fincher. I'm an medium. I'm also a past life seer. I am one who really likes to help you in your life's journey. I am one who really understands emotions and can really support you in coming forward in your world. So, going forward here, I am live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and X. So I am so grateful to be here. So if you have any statements that you want to make, please make them nice and kind because we're all in the midst of stories and we're all in the midst of things. And so, what you may say might be helpful for other people. So coming into this, today I wanted to talk about really about kind of where we're at today, what's going on in the world today, not necessarily in the bigger world like politics and that kind of stuff, but in the world of just being human. And as we're going forward in this world of just being human, it's been amazing little ride lately. I know that there's been a lot of things changing up. I know a lot of schools are coming to an end right now. And so there's a lot of those emotions. There's a lot of, and I know that if you're not anything to deal with school, but we're still going into this season of change. So we're going from spring to summer equinox here coming up. Oh, in another week. This next week, isn't it? Because it's on the 23rd. So that's the next week. Hello, Veronica. Thank you for being here and supporting me in this journey. And and then we have the lot of these things that are happening right now in our world, and talking about doing things that I've had some deep conversations with some people who I really do care about. And so giving perspectives here, it's been amazing, because a lot of us are struggling sometimes with life and what do we do with it? And, how do we work with other people? How do we, stay in our own energy to be us? And how do we be who we are? And I don't know if you've been having some dreams, but I've heard a couple people having some major dreams. And so the universe is talking to us through many different ways, subconsciously, consciously, and that kind of thing. And so going into this, that we're in the midst right now of being able to make some big changes in our world, but it takes us being positive to get through them. Because a lot of us have been, I know for me, I've been working through a lot of my past story, and that past story has been actually quite healing when I look back on it and look into it. And yet, I have to myself be careful how I talk about it. And that was one of my experiences in the last 48, 30, 48 last several days. Going forward is I've had to be careful about how I've been talking about things. But then at the same time, like I was watching after something happened in the day-to-day life of myself, that there was something that happened, and then this meme came through. Hi, Nick. Um, uh, it's that one thing that going forward that we're in the midst of a lot of things, and so this one meme was like, you can't really care how you hold yourself back from other people's, like people want to say, well, you can't say that, don't do that, all that kind of stuff, but you still have this voice inside of you that wants to come forward. But the thing is, though, we have to be careful how we discern ourselves around. So using that word discernment, it's amazing. So Nick, what do you mean by dreams? And you know, but dreams, like dreams in your night is what I'm talking about. But we also have dreams in our day, those daydreams and those kinds of things. But the dreams at night, there's those sleep dreams. So thank you for that clarification. And do you see how I worked with that? That, you know, sometimes we say something and we don't say it all the way through. And then, there's that misunderstanding. And so I want to make sure that I'm clear. So if there's a question, please say, what do you mean by that, Natasha? Yeah, and I'll clarify it, because sometimes I don't know how people are perceiving what I'm saying. And so I would love to be more open with things. And that's one thing, that one of my words that are coming through a lot lately is that being organic, and the way that I want to define organic is that it's about, when you're having a conversation, sometimes you can't pre-think how things are going to be. It's going to be organic. It's going to happen when it's going to happen. It's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. But we can kind of pre-think about what we want to say, but yet we cannot plan out, well, if they say this and that, and we can't do that. But what we can do is we can very much honor our story about who we are and what we're doing. So going into this is that it's about being who we are, and we can only be who we are in the moments of where we're at. So going into this, you know it is about discerning out, who are we, what are we doing. And so, we got to be able to say things with what we're doing. And my cat is being a 9-month-old kitten, and being kind of into things. And so and so I'm just a second here, I'm gonna let him out. Okay, Rocky, you gotta go out. There you go, little boy. Thank you. Tried to tire him out by doing the laser real quick before the show, but it didn't quite work. But it's one of those things that, who are we if we have to not be ourselves? And so doing that organic thing, letting things happen. And I know for me that, there's there was a time of late that, somebody was like telling me I wasn't saying things right. And it's like, but how can I not say anything? I need to say something. And how can I, let the other person know that I care deeply, but not necessarily being outwardly and being able to say things. And so, going into this, that I want you to remember that, set your intention before you say something. What is the intention when you're saying something or when you're listening to something? Because a lot of people right now are being very vulnerable. People are really, they're not being able to take the time to really, what's the word? Uh, a lot of people are on the edge. There, a lot of people are tired. A lot of people are in the moments, and sometimes we can't really always be our perfect self. And so, there's been things said to me lately, and I could have triggered a huge judgment, but it didn't, because that's where I know that we're all being human right now, and we got to discern our way through this. So going into this, it is time for us to really think about, who are we, what we're doing. And I know that a lot of our past story, going back to this again, a lot of our past story is being triggered to move forward. So going into this, a lot of our past story is like, what's something that would be a past story that I can pull upon here? That, I've had a life with people who I care deeply about, and instead of talking about my past, about, this happened and that happened, and this over here happened, and well, that person did this to me, and this happened and that happened, and now I'm afraid to move forward because I don't want to necessarily deal with that kind of stuff again. But we don't know if we're going to deal with that stuff again. So why contemplate or concept that coming in? Because right now we're concepting a lot. And so if you're in a relationship that you have these troubles, that you have this misunderstanding, that labels can be really tricky to be in. And so be careful of your labels. And that's one thing that I was having a conversation with someone about, and I was grateful for perspectives. And that's what I'm here to do, is give you a perspective, because your truth is your truth. But, it's like using the word, let's say a word of, he's a liar, somebody that, has lied a lot, well, he's a liar. He lied about this, he lied about that. And, but the thing is, though, sometimes when we call somebody something, it pigeonholes them in. And I'm having to be careful of that myself. But like I said to the person that I was talking to, that sometimes I need to have a label of something so that I have a reference that I don't want to go down that path again. So going into this, that I wish I can speak more directly about things, but I want to honor the people around me. So, thinking about this scenario about if somebody's called a liar all the time and that liar ends up, hearing about that. Well, I'm not lying all the time, and I'm actually better than I was 4 years ago, because we're all in the story of who we are, and we're all in the story of changing and growing. And so, if we keep ourselves there, then that's there. But then at the same time, though, if you are working with that person who has been a liar in the past, and you notice that some of the same story is circling back around again, and you're in the same situation kind of with that person, like they're in a situation where you found out that truth wasn't always a straight line there with that person, that they kind of did lie again. Well, are they a liar, or was that just the one experience that you caught them in? So be careful about what you're doing, but you can also say to yourself, well, since I understand that he has lied before, I'm not going to call him a liar, but I'm going to call him someone. I'm going to say that I'm not going to be able to trust as deeply as I want until time. And it might be a year, but time heals that wound. And so going into this, that being careful of our labels against someone. I know the label of narcissist is out there a lot, and the manic depressants and the bipolars and all these different labels are out there now. And you know, I- like I've even called my husband a recovering narcissist, but I have to be careful of that now, because even though he is wanting to be protective of himself, even though he wants to be heard, even though he wants to be known, as much as he has feelings, he's not a narcissist anymore. So I need to take that word out, because he's not a narcissist anymore. He's a recovering narcissist, but yet at the same time, even now, he's moving on past that. So, but yet at the same time, though, when something happens in that rabbit hole, because we all have those times where we go down our individual rabbit holes of pity, sorry, negative thinking and stuff like that, that we have to be careful that we use that. But I can say, being married to him, that when there's some tendencies of the same story come around, then I can say, well, I'm not following down that rabbit hole of that narcissistic attitude. See, I didn't call him a narcissist, but the narcissistic attitude. But that, for me, being in a marriage of 35 years with this man, and him being an alcoholic, most of our marriage, and it wasn't, he was very depressed during those years. So it wasn't a nice marriage all the time. And so there's some tendencies that I can slip down my own rabbit hole when he slips down his. And so I have to be careful of that flow. And so going into this, that when something happens that has that same signature of the past, I can say that narcissistic tendencies, but he's not a narcissist anymore. So going into this, be careful about what you're labeling, what you're saying, what you're doing, because that tends to pigeonhole somebody in. But the thing is, though, when we say, I don't want to deal with that narcissistic attitude, then that gives us a boundary to know, wait a minute, that is something that I don't want to do again. That's not what I'm going to be. That's not who I am, is going down that story. So then we can let things heal, because I know that for me, when that happens, when that story happens, I've practiced enough, and this is one thing I want to remember, you to know is that when I talk about something, practice does better, and we have to retrain the brain, retrain the emotions, retrain the nervous system, retrain the simplicities of who we are by practicing to do better, and that doing better, doing our better self, knowing forward, walking forward, that like for me, when things happen, a lot of times it's like, oh, there's that moment that I need to recognize that I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But what I can do is that I can say, I'm asking for blessings on this. I'm asking for miracles. I'm asking for love to help us. I'm asking for the wisdom to come forward. I'm asking for grace to come. I'm asking for us to do our better. I'm asking for love to happen here. I'm asking for Mother Mary and Jesus to come in, whoever you need to call in to support you, so that you don't go down that pity party of, why is he doing this? How come this is happening again? Why are we doing this? What is this? What is that about? What? Well, when we say those things, when we say those, like, wah, 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 we're going down our own story. We're going down our own rabbit hole. And that's not healthy for both parties. Because I can tell you that when one of us, when friendships or whatever relationship we're having with somebody, if one can be on the higher side of life, more enlightened side of life, and ask for love to happen, and ask for blessings to happen, and ask for wisdom to come, and ask for these things to happen, many a times then the negative on top of negative doesn't happen. And then there's that rabbit hole, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what happened to our story? And then we're breaking up, we're not friends anymore, because nobody stopped it. And that's the thing that I have noticed, that when somebody can be a little bit more insightful of the moment and ask for blessings to come in, and ask for miracles to happen, and ask for love to happen, and ask for the better good to happen, and that's the organic way of negotiating our story. And the organic definition, again, that I'm using is that, you know, that it's that moment of letting synchronicity happen, that moment of letting life play out the way it's meant to play out, so that we can learn the examples. And we're going into these planetary shifts and life knowings, and government changes, and wisdom coming and wisdom going, and all these different things that are happening. But right now we're in a big learning story about how does our past benefit us more than drag us down. And so if we can go into our story of what is our benefit of our past to come up. And like I was talking to somebody else, and she says, Natasha, you helped me so much, because I was always thinking that the past was going to keep repeating, but I didn't let the new world, the new life that I was going to lead, or the new opportunities to come in happen. Learn from the past, see what it was here to teach you, negotiate the past. But there's that point where it's like walking on a side of a hill. Do we go down into the story of who we are and stay in that negative spot, or do we rise up and go up the top of the hill and see a different view of what we're here for? Why is this happening in our world? Why is this going into our world? And so if we can kind of go up the hill instead of down, because there's a Y in the road of our life, metaphorically, that we make decisions. Should I be in the pity party? Should I go down into that story? Or should I rise up out of it? And because a lot of people are changing on the inner, a lot. But the thing is, though, we don't always need to trust the whole picture at one time. Because I know that for me, in the evolution of my husband, the day he decided to get sober to where he is now, 12, 13 years sober, has been a journey. And it has not been a journey of trusting right off. He had to prove that he wasn't going to go get high and drunk again. It was a process where it was a journey of learning how to live different for the both of us. I had to learn just as much as he did because he wasn't passing out at 7 o'clock at night anymore. He was actually up talking with me. So I had to learn how not to have my own time at certain times, that I had to be a partner again, that I had to know things differently. So going into this, when you're going into times of change like we are right now, that we can learn from our past. We can see how it helped us. We can say, what is this here to teach me? What is this here to be with me? Why am I here in this moment? And if we can negotiate that story and be where we're at, then we get a benefit of where we're going. And the universe really wants us to shift up where we're at. The universe really wants us to be in a new knowing of where we're at. We're not supposed to be last year's story. We're meant to be this year's story. We're meant to be in this month, the second week of June, into the amazingness of where we're at. And so being who you are and being what we are is amazing. But please remember that, and I use this metaphor, take the foot off the gas pedal. It is going to be what it is. Life is going to be what it is. And I know for me that I am actually in the moment of redoing my website again. And it's not changing its name, it's Intuitive Clarifications, but it's changing platforms. It's going from GoDaddy to another platform. And so going into this, it's a whole new ability, Rocky. It's a whole new ability to shift up where we're at and what I'm doing, and so that I can service you better, service life better. But it's a whole new learning curve. It's like flipping upside down, inside out, and it's like it's amazing to being able to do and be able to negotiate a lot of this story. But I was even feeling rushed to get it out, and I'm like going, "Wait a minute." And so I spent today, coming home from one thing going to another thing, that I actually sat down for a few minutes and played a solitaire game just to start breathing. I put on very calming music behind the scenes so I can be a little bit more calmer. And then, getting ready for the show that I was sitting in and contemplating, even though I was working on my website. So when we go into our story, when we go into our knowings, when we going into our changes, and when we're going into who we are, it is really time for us to remember that we are not our own stories, nor is other people. We have changed. We are in the midst of a lot of change. And so it's time for us really to honor the change that we're in. And be careful of the labels that you say to yourself and labeling other people, because some people aren't staying that way. Now, if they keep doing the action and the interaction, then, boundaries, boundaries. And as the wind is blowing around me right now, that, it's like boundaries aren't always there, but yet, you can close a window for a boundary. You can honor those moments. So be where you're at, and remembering that as we're going forward, a lot of times our subconscious will come through dreams, as I was talking about dreams of the night. So our dreams in the night, sometimes our subconscious gets told some different things, and it's amazing. Like the other night, I had a dream that I was in acid rain was coming down on me. And I was like, but I had to go from point A to point B, and I was not being able to do it very well because of being hurt all the time. And so this is a dream that I replayed, I don't know how many different times. It felt like, um, whatever it's called, but that dream of going back over it and back over it and back over it. And so each time I would try something different. And then, since I kind of do some dream walking where I'm aware of what I'm saying and what I'm doing, that I kind of thought, I have a blanket on top of me, and it's one of my fuzzy blankets that I love so much. I still like blankets. and I put it up over me and I thought, oh, this is cozy. And guess what? I'm protected. Hmm. And then I'm protected. That feels good. And it's fuzzy and cool and soft with me, right? And then guess what? My husband came and kissed me and woke me up, saying goodbye for his day at work, because he leaves a little earlier than I do. Another form of protection, right? So going into this, that we have these moments where our subconscious tells us, so am I protected from the energies of the outside world? That would be one definition of this dream. As I'm walking forward into our new knowings, and as I'm walking forward into my new understanding, that I'm being a lot vulnerable, doing a new website, platform, going into these new endeavors of partnering with other people, and a lot of these different things, that I'm being vulnerable, which makes me a little bit more open to things not so good happening to me. But I'm gonna have to do it in spite of it. And like I've had this image that these parts of me that are afraid of moving forward and these parts of me that aren't sure about moving forward, I metaphorically put it in a wagon and and pull the wagon along beside me so that I can do what I am meant to do, because the universe is asking us to do some things that are not always comfortable. And we have to discern out, is this good for me to do or not? But sometimes we have to play the what if game. And when I say the what if game, I want to define that, because it's not, well, what if that happens? Well, what if this happens? Well, what if that happens? Or what if this is going to happen? Or what's that happen? It's not about that negative story, but it's like, what if this is the opportunity I have? What if this doesn't work out right, but I'm feeling called to it? What if this doesn't happen over there? And like my I have somebody that is around me that is thinking about buying a new car, and so driving different cars, and they're feeling each time that car is the right car. The thing is, though, it has been the right car to learn this experience, right car to say, "Oh, I need to remember to look at this, the underside of the car, or look at the transmission, and who is that, and who is that." And hi, Suzanne. It's that story of where we're at, and so remembering that the journey of life is not always a straight line. And a lot of times when we're going into our life, that many a times, hi everybody coming on right now, that, going into this, that, when we're ready to step into something new, it may not always be the right thing right away, but it could be the opportunity to learn some experiences so that we can step forward, like this person who with, looking at cars. You know, they don't know who and what and where this opportunity is gonna come up, but they know that, "Hmm, well, I learned that from that, and I learned that from that, and, oh, wait a minute, maybe this next one will be the right car." Who knows? Even me being intuitive, sometimes I don't even know the answer to things. But the thing is, though, I'm willing to look into it, the what if, in a heightened, in a more positive look, in a, well, what about this, and what about that, and what if that, and what about over here? What if this happens? And I find that if I can play that knowing of things that have opportunities to come forward, that I can kind of play that what if game. So when things happen, and I'm going to use the word organic again, organically happening, that I have some prep understanding of what I'm doing. Because sometimes when we pre-plan something, and then we have to be careful about not being hard on ourselves about, well, that didn't happen right away. Well, this isn't happening. There's been a whole lot of new opportunities coming up for a lot of people, but it's us negotiating it to a heightened self. As I can tell you that there's something that happened this weekend, that it was not an easy dance, but I didn't go down that rabbit hole of negativity. And then guess what? The healing is happening. Opportunities are coming. And the words that were meant to be said during that process, during that moment, that I was able to organically have an offering conversation to do better and give perspectives and understand that I wasn't right, but I had ideas to come forward. I'm on my correct path. I want to channel for animals, you know? And that's the thing is Suzanne, that, it is about trusting that process when you do get a message. Because I do animal communication. And what I do is I have to trust that that's what I'm getting. And I tell people a lot of times, well, like I've had a couple people that have gotten a hold of me. Oh, I need it. And they have lost animals. They have lost animals. And I honestly say, well, I hope I'm wrong about what I'm telling you here, because I'm getting a feeling that they're not going to come back, or that they are going to come back. And I have to say the truth that I'm hearing, but I'm hoping that I'm wrong about it, because it is about trusting the process of where we're at and looking into it and believing, because there are so many metaphorical breadcrumbs out there. If you know that story about how, the universe gives you breadcrumbs and then the bird goes and gets led down a path. And it's about believing in it, because we don't know what path is going to be the right path. I got a message about something that might be happening. And I ask for miracles to happen. I'm hoping that this is blessed. I hope that this happens. I'm hoping, and I have these opportunities coming up, and it's like, I'm blessed to have this moment. I'm blessed to be in this moment and to follow through. And oh my gosh, I got to follow through with a couple emails, and I'm not doing very good because this website is taking over because there's a time limit on it. There's really a time limit on it because I'm collective with some other people, and it needs to sync up in my story. And so trying to get this new website out so I can do these new adventures, it's been kind of, I don't want to use the word daunting, but it is kind of daunting to negotiate it. So when we're in that, things are like very daunting, very hard to think about doing it. Thank you, Catherine. Thinking about these stories and thinking about moving forward and doing what we're doing, that it is about trusting the process and believing that we can. And when we're in those daunting moments, as I want to say, that it is about taking a breath. It's about becoming more organic about how you do it. You can only be who you are. Like last night, I was going to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like going, I even brought my computer up to work, and it's because my husband was tired, and he's not been sleeping very well upstairs because it's been kind of warm, so he's been downstairs. And with that I was going to be able to work on some stuff, and I was falling asleep. So I fell asleep, but then I was grateful I fell asleep, because then I was awake at 6 o'clock in the morning. Uh, so going forward, so Suzanne, you said, am I? So, you know, you can be an animal communicator, you know, you can be an animal communicator, but it's the practice to do better. So remembering how you start out is not the way to the end, because like for me, I had a friend that came over and got me going on this website platform because she's done it before on that platform. And it gave me a lot of tools to negotiate inside so that I can go, oh, where I'm at. Life is happening in front of us. Life is happening to us. Life is happening for us. Life is stirring us up into places so that we can look at our past, so that we can see where it's holding us back, so that we can move forward. And that's why things are happening right now, is that it's helping us to look at ourselves, look at our nervous system. Are we afraid? Are we looking into who we are? And I can tell you that, sometimes when we're in that negative story all the time, that we say, do I have something wrong with me? Do I have an entity? Do I have this or do I have that? Well, to me, when I see people with energy around them, it doesn't. I can see when somebody is depressed a lot, they have the entity of depression with them, the energy of depression with them. They have they if they're have been in a really terrible family story, then they have that terrible family story entity of energy with them. And so going into this, that in order to really break free of those things that are slowing us down and stopping us, it's about going in and telling it, we're going to be okay. We're going to be knowing. It's going to be scary, but we got it. We got it. And if we can tell ourselves that, we got it. We got it. We got it. But we got to practice to do better. So I trust myself. I trust myself. I trust myself. I trust myself. I'm blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. Say those mantras that you can to help you feel like you can be more accomplished. We're all intuitive. We all have moments where we're going down a rabbit hole. We're all in the 3D world. We're all in many different dimensions. We're all in the story of who we are and what we're doing. But it is really time for us to really look at our past, and see how it's benefited us. But we're almost willing to say, I'm done with that past and I'm moving forward. So Veronica, thank you. I have to go for now. All of, oh, if you're pulling cards tonight, please, one for me. Thank you. Yes, I will, because I will be pulling cards here in a few minutes. But, who are we and what we're doing? Thank you, Veronica, for being here with me. And I'm glad, Suzanne, that got you kind of straightened out a little bit, because it is about trusting. And I know that for me, that even if I'm wrong, I'm right somehow. And that's the difference, is that I'm going to trust what I get. I'm going to trust that process. I'm going to trust who I am. I'm going to trust that life is happening. And guess what? It's been amazing when I've been right. I was doing some work with someone who lost a dog, and this person was talking to somebody else that was a fellow intuitive, and we were getting the same thing. I'm like going, really? Cool. So who are we and what we're doing is not necessarily always a straight line. Remembering this is a journey. Life is about a journey. Life is about gathering information. Life is about understanding who we are. Life is about being our better self. Life is about negotiating what we are in, the story we're in. Life is about saying we're done with what we've been in the past. This equinox energy that we're going to be walking into is a huge shift. It's a huge shift. And as we're moving forward and as we're going forward, and I need to check up in on a client, because there were some big shifts coming up for her at this time, that what we do and what we do as we go forward is believe. And so if you feel like you're going down a negative rabbit hole, if somebody around you is repeating an old pattern and it's they're trying to bring you in, as a lot of loved ones that are in our story, that like my husband says, honey, I love you, but you're my safe place to fall into. And so I'm sorry that happens. But what I can do, though, is that tell him I love you, and that's not okay, but I can understand. But I'm not going down that rabbit hole with you. So that's where I do say things like, I love you, I love you, I love you, when he is in that mode. But we're changing that, because he's becoming the man I always wanted to be married to. But we all have these old stories. We all have these old triggers. So it's about believing in you. And I hope this show is helping you in some ways to believe. So, sit with the emotions, sit with where you're at, sit with what's happening. But at the same time, though, remember that it's time to ask for miracles. and amazingness, and keep those mantras as positive as it is. And like this month's mantra for June is, I'm trusting my knowings. Where am I getting pulled to? What am I doing in the story? Where am I going forward in? Who am I? Universe, show me the way. You got to show me the way. This is a time for me to break open and be what I'm supposed to be, go where I'm supposed to go. Please show me the way. Watch the synchronicities. Watch who you are, because things are happening around you. Things are happening around us. We are in the midst of life, and we're all in the midst of big changes coming up. And it's about believing that we are. Matrix or no matrix, life or no life, other worlds, dimensions or no dimensions. It is about what it is. And that's the thing is that our perspective can really change up what is. Healing can happen. It takes intention and it takes knowings. It takes ideas and inspirations. It takes believing in you. It takes believing in you, because you are a miracle. You are going forward. And we may not have been taught well to go forward, but we sure can go forward. I hope that helps. Okay. So going into this, I'm going to pull some oracle cards here. This is Claudette Baron Reed's what is it? Mists of Avalon, I think. Woo! There's a card that came out. Didn't even have to pull it for somebody. So it's truth. So truth. So be careful about whose truth are you listening to. Oh my gosh. The mind likes to play games, but we have to retrain the brain to retrain the nervous system, to retrain the scenarios that we're in, changing our DNA, whatever we're doing with work. So whatever you believe in, it's your truth. But remember, truth is a path. And it's about finding it out, discerning it out, doing what we're doing. It's about believing in the moment of where you're at, what you're doing. There is so many freaking truths out there right now. And it's really hard to discern them out. So find your truth. Okay. Is there anybody who would like a card? So Veronica, you had a card, and I'm going to do your card at the end here. So you can just pop in at the end. I know you got, pop in, but and I'll text you. So does anybody else want a oracle card pulled? Catherine, I'm going to pull a card for you. I know that you pulled some cards earlier, but let me pull a card for you. This is for Catherine, for her journey forward. Okay, universe. Okay, Suzanne, I will too. Okay, so Catherine. Woo. Okay, so I'm seeing these first two. Okay, so cards are upside down, but they're not necessarily meaning to. So you have the cat, independent, healthy boundaries. So you've been working on that. 444. Yes, 444. Big, healthy boundaries. Cats know what the feet are doing, what the tail is doing, what the whiskers are doing, what the ears are doing, what the back is doing. So trust your boundaries, but remembering that you don't need to scratch and pull at people, but you can leap out of the way. You can say, no, not really. No, thank you. Because it's time to sing your own music right now. But remember that the bard, which is music, poetry, myth, history, the enchantment of storytelling. So remembering that be careful of the story you're telling, but remember that the bard would come in and sing at different different places, castles and stuff, to give messages of what's going on in the countryside. But by the time he sings the music, that story is already done. So be careful about what story you keep singing and doing. So it's time for you to really believe in you and sing a positive story. And it changes the world. There's one more card for you, my dear. let's see here. You got a wealth card. So this might be the pause in between the birth to rebirth process. There's a card in here that's birth to rebirth, and you might be on that itchy nose. It might be on that hyphen between birth hyphen rebirth process. So you feel like you're in that on that pause between this and that, but you are in the wealth of life. You are moving forward. But it's about mindset and believing that, if you believe in the matrix system, let the matrix system work for you. And it takes us believing in it. Okay. So that's about that card. So you have the wealth card, the cat card, and the bard card. So sing better music, sing wealthy music, contemplating that wealth. That will make a big difference. You never know who you're going to meet. And you know that. I hope that helps. Catherine, thank you. Okay, so Suzanne. Paula. Hi, Paula. Yes, I will pull a card for you too. So, Suzanne, so what I'm asking you to do is to just put the intention of what is your question? I don't need to know your question. Just put out the intention, and the energies of the cards will pick it up. I trust that process. So this is for Suzanne. Thank you for being here. I just dropped my mic. So finding a voice, right? Finding a voice without knocking it over. Oh, there's a card for you. Oh, there's two. Okay. Now I'm going to show one very quickly. So you've got spider. So spider is about webbing and weaving a new web. What do you want to catch in your web? What do you want to have in that story of yourself? What do you want to do in that story? Because it takes partnership. It takes knowing of things. It takes talking with people. It takes trusting. It's like you being here today is showing a partnership in that understanding. And so with that you gleaned off some information today, because remembering your truth is your truth. I'm just a perspective to help you or help anybody to move forward. That's my whole intention of my outer world, is to help people to move forward. But remembering that spider is about going for the opportunity. So if they're in a place that doesn't catch many information bugs, that they'll move their web to another place to see if that's a good place to catch information. So be willing to move around and talk to different people, Suzanne, to be able to negotiate that world, because you're in the middle of a lot of things. And then so the spider card was a 6 number, and then the partnership card was a 5 number. So look up 5 and 6 and see how those messages come across to you. I hope so. Remember that you're in a way of a spider. What are you going to catch? What are you going to negotiate? Creativity, creative products, stay positive, stay that creative self, because partnerships are coming for you and support. So it's time to believe in who you are. And I'm going to be, after my website is up, I'm going to be producing some courses on my website, which I can do now with this website. And so big changes are coming up for me. So there's that creative project that I got the idea in the spider web. Now it's time for me to bring it down and get the information from it, get the strength from it. So that hopefully will help. Okay, so Paula, your turn now. How are you doing, Paula? I've been thinking about you and wondering how you are doing, because you've had some big shifts and changes in your life. So Paula, clear the cards. Woo! I'm not going to do the whole deck for you, girl. Sorry. I had a whole bunch. I was going to have a whole bunch. Oh, you're more than welcome, Suzanne. If you need more help with private, please make a session with me. If I can help you individually with things, you can go to intuitiveclarifications.com. Oh, still shifting and changing a lot. LOL. Yes, I can feel that. My website, one website is up, and I'm going to change the platform here towards this end of this week. I'm hoping So intuitiveclarifications.com is my website. And if it gets an error page, it's because it's in the transmission from one platform to another, and the domain has to change over in the story. Woo! Okay. Well, I told them I didn't want the whole deck, but they're going to give me 4 cards. So the card that you got was Wasp. So be careful of anger and frustration of the past. Frustration and anger that things aren't happening in the way that you want them to. Frustration and anger that things are not always going to be working in your time. But be organic, like I said in the show, and just know that everything is happening in the journey for your greater lesson. It's not always easy to know that as you do walk forward, but it is about trusting your process of being who you are, because it's time to sing better music, better stories for yourself. This too shall pass. This or something better for me. I haven't gotten the whole story yet because movement card is upside down, which means that movement might be kind of stuck right now, but it's time to believe in what you're doing so you can turn it around, because what you think and what you say is what you end up with in the movement, because transformation is coming to you as you are in the moment of changing from the caterpillar to the butterfly. So get ready for that big change, because B is about community. It's about story, but it was upside down. So look to see how you're not how you are struggling being with the community around you. And like I said at the beginning of the show, that it's about, sometimes we're around people that our past showed us that we couldn't trust people. But what we can do is trust as much as we can trust and keep moving forward. Okay. So B is about community. Find the nectar, find the joy. Like my cat has been getting my brushes out. Okay, time for me to be creative. I will be creative. I just can't do it right this. Well, I am being creative on my new website, but a different creative. Painting. Sit down and just be peaceful instead of electronics all the time. So the world around us is telling us a lot of stories. So it's a time to believe in you. It's time to believe in you. So Veronica, you asked about this even though you had to leave. So I will. And remember, if you had if one of these cards that wasn't yours, if you got a call, if there was a message from somebody else's reading that was true for you, please glean off what you need to, because of the fact that the universe speaks through many different ways, and sometimes it comes through with that. So all on point with what is going on. Thanks. Oh, you're more than welcome. Yeah, it's about you, and you're very gifted about things. So Veronica, believing in your magic. It was upside down, so be careful of your magic, Veronica, about, and this is a story for a lot of us, what we think we are going to receive. So if you are thinking more negative, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get more struggle. You're going to get more struggle. And so believe what you are. So in this card, Merlin is sitting strong in who he is. He's of the eldership, so he's older. He gets that wisdom. So trusting your knowings is the mantra for this week. And each week I do a video to support that journey. And then he's sitting in the strength with the storms and the story around him. But it's about being centered in who he is and know what he knows. So Veronica, trust what you know. Trust who you are. Okay. I hope that everybody had a good time today. I hope that this show was helpful for you, because that is my intention, is to always be helpful. Next week, I have Regan Forston on, and I do not know what we're going to talk about. It's his third Wednesday of the month. And then at the end of the month, I have Jody on, and I'm going to be doing a conference with her in July. So thought it was good to have her on today, or at the end of this month. So next 2 Wednesdays, I will not be on Instagram. I will be on YouTube and Facebook and X. So if you want to catch my shows, please, if you want to catch my shows at any time, please go to my YouTube channel, Natasha Venter IC. So thank you so much for being who you are and being what you are. It's amazing we're all in the midst of big changes, and it's really time to believe. Okay, so I not too sure about that last post. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being what you are. Please remember my website this week coming up, or the end of this week, will be transferring over domains. So if you do not get it, but it's Natasha Venter at Intuitive Clarifications. And but you can catch my posts. I post weekly, daily, except for on Saturday and Sunday, on my platforms for supportive help. Life is about moving forward, and it's time for us to believe in ourselves. Natasha Venter IC, Natasha Venter Intuitive Clarifications. Also, you can find me on podcasts. So if somebody likes to listen to me on podcasts, please point them to my direction, Intuitive Clarifications with Natasha. And it's time to really, it's time to be out of our old story and rise up and start climbing that wonderful hill of ourselves and believe in who we are. Because it's time that stories are done keeping us down in the valleys of our life. Blessings be to you. Remember, your truth is your truth. This was just a perspective to help you. Blessings be. Bye now.